Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. It is Saturday, July 30th, 2022. Well, it's Saturday, which means it is the best of Crime Talk, all located in one convenient location. We hope you enjoy it. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk. Let's go ahead and open the docket for July 25th, 2022. Ghislaine Maxwell has been sent to Florida where she will serve her 20-year sentence for helping that guy named Jeff abuse underage girls. Now, the former socialite has been moved to FCI Tallahassee, which is a low-security prison down there in Florida, almost where she committed her crimes. Now, the Bureau of Prisons indicates that Miss Maxwell will be eligible for release on July 17th of 2037. The facility in Danbury was expected to be where Maxwell would serve her sentence after the request from the lawyers. During the sentencing, Maxwell's lawyer said, "We request that Miss Maxwell be designated based on a recommendation by the court to the Bureau of Prison facility. The women's facility is Danbury, and also a recommendation that she be enrolled in the FIT program, which is the Female Integrated Treatment Program, to address past family and other trauma issues." Now, Judge Nathan said, "I recommend to the Bureau of Prisons consideration for placement in Danbury and consideration for eligibility in the enrollment in the FIT program." The FIT program would have allowed Maxwell to be part of a therapeutic community that will help her understand how her own abusive father shaped her life. Workshops would have included trauma in life and seeking safety so she could process the impact of being abused by her father, the late British press baron Robert Maxwell. As you may recall, in court, her lawyers tried to argue that Robert's abusive behavior around his children made Ghislaine Maxwell vulnerable when she met that guy named Jeff around the same time her father's death in 1991. And prior to her sentencing last month, Maxwell made a public statement expressing remorse for her actions. And she said, quote, "I realize I have been convicted of assisting that guy named Jeff to commit these crimes. My association with that guy named Jeff will permanently stain me. It is my biggest regret of my life that I have ever met him." She added that guy named Jeff fooled all of those in his orbit and claimed she herself was a victim of his. She has also written in a memo to the sentencing that a troubled childhood made her vulnerable to commit such heinous acts after her father's death in 1991. Now, she appeared to have replaced one controlling, manipulative father with a nearly identical man, a guy named Jeff, who she dated before becoming the boss of the, now convicted sex trafficking organization. So although the judge, who is quite powerful in the United States District Court, placement is always up to the Bureau of Prisons, and given the length of the sentence, she may not necessarily meet the criteria for getting into the programs that the court thinks that she would benefit from. And frankly, it's a low security prison. It's not exactly the worst time one could possibly do. Don't get me wrong, nobody wants to go to prison, but if you're going to have to go to prison, do federal time. It's a little better. Will the Lori Vallow Chad Daybell case be delayed? Well, what's going on? Well, John Pryor, on behalf of Chad Daybell, has filed a motion to request permission to appeal two of the district court's orders filed on July 6th of 2022. Well, that begs the question then. What was the order or orders filed on July 6, 2022? Well, first, the judge denied the motion to disqualify Rachel Smith from representing the state of Idaho in 22-21-1623, which is Chad Daybell's case. Also, the court denied the motion for a list of all homicide and capital cases Smith has ever or is currently participating in the prosecution of the same. And then the other order was the district court, Judge Boyce, denying two motions filed under seal regarding disqualifying Rob Wood, from representing the state of Idaho. Now, the final order was the court's ruling on a two-day hearing on June 8th and June 15th of 2022, where apparently several motions were argued. Apparently, several written decisions are entered separately as to different motions taken up during those 2 days of hearing. And then the court states
that based upon certain oral motions during the arguments, as well as written motions and briefings, supporting or opposing motions, and incorporating into the order the record from those hearings containing the oral ruling of the court and rationale for such ruling, the court orders the state's motion to dismiss for failure to comply with Idaho Criminal Rule 12b is denied. Wow, that was a mouthful, wasn't it? That sounded like when somebody said, hey, you want to go do something? You're like, ooh, I got to do that thing that we've been talking about, but I'm going to do that thing, sometime when I get around to it because it's an important thing. That's what that order basically says. Now, what is the Idaho Appellate Rule 12 that is at issue here? Well, that's the rule regarding interlocutory appeals. So the Idaho Appellate Rules state that you have to get permission, and part of that criteria for obtaining permission to appeal to the Supreme Court for an interlocutory order or judgment of a district court in a civil or criminal action, or from an interlocutory order which is not otherwise appealable under the rules, but which involves a controlling question of law as to which there is a substantial ground for difference of opinion, and in which an immediate appeal from the order or decree may materially advance the orderly resolution of the litigation. So what is an interlocutory appeal exactly? It is an appeal of a ruling by a trial court that is made before the trial itself has concluded. But you have to ask the appellate courts to review the aspect of the case before the trial has been resolved, which is unusual, right? That's why you always litigate the issue. Motions are granted, they're denied. At the end of that process, people can appeal. So what does Pryor have to do to get permission here? First, well, he's got to get permission from Judge Boyce. Assuming that permission is granted, then a petition would be filed to the Idaho Supreme Court, and then the court would have to decide whether they actually want to hear the case. If they don't want to hear the case, the Supreme Court doesn't want to hear the case, then the case marches on, and that issue that is at issue regarding the appeal would be heard if there is in fact a conviction of Lori Vallow or Chad Daybell. Now, is the Idaho Supreme Court likely to take up the ruling? I would say unlikely, unless this issue is so big and the Supreme Court believes that Judge Boyce just got it so wrong and there's no legal rationale for his conclusion, then maybe they would take it up. But I wouldn't hold my breath. Now, of course, we don't know if the judge made a completely erroneous ruling because that's right, the records are sealed. And don't get me started on that because I'm not sure why the public doesn't have a right to know what's taking place in litigation. It's a homicide case involving 3 people that are now deceased. The accusation is that they were murdered. I'm not sure why the privacy interest is so great. There are probably things going to be embarrassing. I don't think it's going to affect the trial. We should have access to every single motion that has been filed. Sure, redact a little bit here and there, but let us get the gist of what's going on, because it kind of makes you feel as though, well, the people somehow don't have a right to know what's going on in their own backyard. I would think the people of Idaho outraged. Please go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to crimetalksearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. July 28th, 2022. Rules for thee, but not for me. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of one of the most dangerous cities in the country, well, her motorcade has been busted for multiple speeding and traffic offenses. Now, you may say, who cares? Well, guess what? She's been pushing for harsher punishments for drivers who go too fast. Now, Lightfoot's SUVs since February of 2020 have been involved in at least 8 incidents since May of 2021, and she has received 3 speed camera tickets and 2 warnings plus a red light ticket. Now, none of the fines, which total $658 if you or me, have been paid. Now, footage shows multiple incidents involving the car. In one, the two Ford Expeditions SUV raced through a set of red lights with traffic cameras seen flashing in their wake. In another, a black Chevy SUV can be seen making a left turn at a red light at a large intersection. It is unclear if Lightfoot was in the SUV at the time, although she won't have been driving them in either instance, to be fair. Now, these revelations come about as Lightfoot, who took over mayor in 2019, continues to push lower the buffer zone threshold speed cameras allow before issuing a citation. It was 10 miles per hour, but she ordered it be reduced to 6 miles per hour last year, arguing that it will make the roads safer. No one likes speed cameras, I get it, she said last month, but this is life or death, and we're talking about here, and we've got to step up as a city to address this. She also repeatedly highlighted the threat to children from speeding vehicles near schools. It's unconscionable that anyone would consider voting to allow increased speed near spaces utilized by children, the mayor would say. Last week, she added, it makes no sense for us to increase the speed around the parks and schools when we know the horrific consequences for pedestrians and others as well if the speeds are increased. Now, Lightfoot's official vehicle themselves have been caught speeding through these school zones as well. In February of 2020, one of her vehicles drove past the Jones College Prep at 39 miles per hour, leading to a warning being issued. On January 21st, her SUV drove through a red light following year at 5:45 a.m. On May 20th, 2021, her two SUVs sped past Samuel Gophers Park at 39 miles per hour, resulting in another speed warning. And July 30th of 2021, her motorcade passed Orr Academy High School at 43 miles an hour. My God, the danger, the reckless disregard for the safety of small children everywhere. Mayor Lightfoot. The website reported that a speed camera ticket was issued and the $244 remains unpaid. Now, continuing on October 10th of 2021, one of her vehicles turned left through a red light, resulting in the $244 ticket, which has not been paid. The following month, on November 5th, Lightfoot's SUV received a warning for traveling through Washington Park at 39 miles an hour as she was on her way to a COVID press conference at the Children's Hospital. 4 months later, on March 9th, her SUV sped past the same location, and she was sent a $70 fine, which remains unpaid, shockingly. And then last month, that's right, 41 miles an hour going through Samuel Gophers Park, the $100 ticket remains unpaid. Now, just to give a little perspective here, Chicago has issued 3.8 million speeding tickets, generating almost $80 million in revenue to the city since Lightfoot lowered the threshold to 6 miles per hour last year. Because it's always about the children, ladies and gentlemen. Whereas we say here in Crime Talk, it's always about the money. And I think the mayor was looking more at the $80 million than she was really the safety of the children, given the fact that she could reach over to her drivers and say, slow down, it's a school zone. She doesn't do that. So in true politician doublespeak, Lightfoot's office said that the mayor herself was not responsible for the drivers and stressed repeatedly that traffic safety and the running red lights is never acceptable. And the mayor's detail is apparently responsible for the safety and security of the mayor, and members of the mayor's detail are trained in a variety of safety and security techniques to keep the mayor safe. And that includes both vehicles staying in formation while en route. Lightfoot's teams also said that the fines had not been paid because there's an administrative process to review these fines, which once again is rules don't apply to us. And the payment is not collected until that process has been concluded. And obviously, in the government world, it takes over a year to decide whether the mayor's detail should pay a fine. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, the mayor stressed, hey, it's not my fault. Now you may say, Scott, why are you worried about this? Well, this goes kind of to the whole general issue society's facing right now. Don't get me wrong. Stupid laws should be ignored, okay? But when the politicians are the ones that are not following the laws that they've imposed, well, it goes directly to the illegitimacy of the government. If the rules don't apply to everyone, including the government officials, they should apply to no one. Politicians have to do it cleaner and better than everyone else. They need to be held to a higher standard. Bottom line, I've stressed this many, many times. I remember when I was on active duty, when I was an enlisted guy, there are things that I could get away with for being stupid as an enlisted guy. As an officer, you are held to a higher standard. What would be something that would be a quick non-judicial punishment for an enlisted guy was something that was going to end your career as an officer because you were held to a higher standard. Politicians need to be held to a higher standard. If they can't follow that standard, they need to resign. All right. Remember to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Like the video if you do, and hit that bell so you receive notifications. And remember, you can listen to Crime Talk on any of your favorite podcasting apps, including Apple, Audible, and Spotify. Now, I'm telling you, we are so close to 1 million downloads. Please give it a try. Give it a try. Next time you're going to listen to that podcast, give it a try. First, new details on the Christie Chen Fiji murder. That's right. Newlywed pharmacist Christie Chen had a drunken argument with her husband after he inappropriately danced with another person at a party before she was found beaten to death and slumped in the small space between the toilet and the wall of the luxury Fiji honeymoon bungalow. Now, the 36-year-old was found deceased on July 9th at the secluded $3,500 a night Turtle Island Resort, which only hosts 14 guests at a time. Her husband, Bradley Robert Dawson, has been charged with her murder. He has maintained that the death was a complete accident. She probably just slipped and fell, got her head stuck between the toilet and the wall. These things happen all the time, particularly in Fiji. Anyway, the couple who met in November of 2021 married just 3 months later after a whirlwind romance. Chen had previously been engaged. She was Dawson's second wife, and he had married his first in Fiji in September of 2019, according to a wedding registry. It is unclear when he separated from his first wife. Miss Chen was found dead just 2 days after they checked into the hotel, which her parents, who were regulars there, had paid for. Now, the night Chen died, she and Dawson had attended a party dubbed Family Fun Night with the island staff and other guests on the beach, where both were very drunk, according to witnesses. Apparently, there was some tension between the couple when Dawson started acting inappropriately with someone else at the party. That could happen, particularly when you're on your honeymoon. The couple were apparently enjoying themselves and drinking quite a bit, and towards the end, they looked troubled, according to the witness. Now, it is understood the couple then left the party, and their argument continued on the beach before they headed back to their private bungalow about midnight. Now, not long after that, the guests in the bungalow next to them said they heard arguing, a loud scream, and then silence. Miss Chen was found bloodied on the bathroom floor by a personal butler around midday. She had suffered multiple traumatic injuries to her head and shoulders, lacerations to her face, and blunt force trauma to the head, according to the autopsy. A witness has apparently come forward and stated that the lid of the toilet's cistern was cracked and broken. The couple's personal butler found her body squashed and slumped between the tiny space between the toilet and the wall, badly beaten and covered in blood. Her body was apparently so badly beaten that they were actually unable to embalm her, and her parents had to cremate her before bringing her ashes back to the United States. It's also reported that she suffered such deep lacerations to both sides of her head near her eyes that the embalming fluid would apparently have leaked out. On the night that Miss Chen was killed, Dawson was seen walking the length of the Turtle Island in the early hours of the morning by the night watchman before he went back towards his private bungalow. Dawson left his GPS watch and mobile phone in the bungalow, but took his wallet and passport before fleeing across the water 1.2 miles away to a secluded beach, an island called Matakawa Levu Island. Police suspect that he was headed toward the mainland, which is about 2 or 3 hour boat ride away in the hopes of hopefully fleeing to Fiji. But Dawson never made it that far, and he was discovered with cuts and bruises about 3 p.m. on July 10th by a local man as he was walking towards the island village. That witness has stated that Mr. Dawson told him that he used a kayak to paddle to the island between 2 and 3 a.m. on Saturday morning after having a fight with Miss Chen. Now, the kayak Dawson claimed he traveled on has never been found. This is now according to Miss Chen's family attorney. By the time Dawson emerged, he had been missing for 36 hours, and police had put basically an all-points bulletin out for him, looking for him as the couple's personal butler found Miss Chen dead and covered on the floor. Needless to say, that would raise a few alarms when the second guest isn't there. Apparently, Mr. Dawson kept claiming to everybody that we had a fight and offered no start or end to the story, just saying that we had a fight. And then he got in a kayak and paddled away 1.2 miles away from the location. Like I said, unless Miss Chen shoved her head between the toilet and a wall, bruising herself in that process, ultimately killing herself, it would seem as though, that's right, the husband would be the bad guy here. We'll give him the presumption of innocence, but it's not looking good for him.